That's close enough.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look, okay? So, here's what I'd like to show you first of all today. How to actually graph a function. So can you now take a look at your notes, and here I said this is the equation, y equals to negative 2x squared minus 5x plus 14. In order for you to actually graph this out, you need to first of all turn on your calculator and go to the y equals to button in the top left corner, okay? If you have stuff already in there, press clear to remove it, and you can use the up and down arrow keys to remove things. Y equals to, okay, y equals to, the blue button. And here's where you actually input all your equations. Now, before you do this, listen. Be careful with the negative sign in front, okay? If you have a negative sign that starts off the equation, you need to actually use this button down here, the negative button, okay? Don't use the minus button. So please use negative, and it's a little shorter dash. So go negative, and then 2. X is this thing here where it has x, t, theta, and n. It's above the apps key, I think. So that's the x. And then you're going to have to show a square, and you can always use the x squared button, which is over here in the first column, x squared. So there's your negative 2x squared. And then you got to type in the rest. Minus, and then I can use the minus sign now, 5x plus 14. And once you have that in your graph, the equal sign should also be highlighted, meaning that this is the equation you want to graph. And now press graph, and maybe your window is different than mine. Sorry, maybe yours looks something like this.
Why will my graph?
Okay.
It looks ugly.
Now, if you don't have anything right now, can you please do this? Press zoom, and press number 6 for standard. Okay. And this hopefully is what you actually see on your calculator as well. Okay.
I don't know what's like.
Because you have this plot 1 on, so I'm going to turn it off.
That doesn't work.
Okay.
Ah.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if I ask you to show work on an actual assignment and you're using your graphing calculator, this is how you show work. You have to tell me what equation you put into y1. So you put in this. So write this in. Negative 2x squared minus 5x plus 4t. You don't have to draw the actual box, but you need to write down the equation. And then I want you to sketch a picture. So I want you to go ahead now and sketch a picture of what you actually see. So it doesn't have to be accurate, but it should be pretty close to it. So something like this, something like this. Okay? Now, obviously, this picture probably is not the best, but I'll show you in a second how to make it better. Now, this is a picture, but do you know where the actual coordinates are? Like, can you figure out what's this minimum x value over here? What's this maximum x value? What's this minimum x value? What's this maximum x value? And if you want to find out what they call the window coordinates, or the viewing window, you need to do this. You need to find this info by pressing this button. It's the blue button on the top, which is called window. So can you actually press that? And by the way, in my notes, whatever button I'm going to put down here, I always put a box around it so you know it's a button. So go ahead and press window, and look what it says.
Totally answered.
It says here, x min is negative 10. It says x max is 10, meaning that the lowest value to the, or the least value to the left is negative 10. The maximum value over here is 10. And if you look on the actual SCL, that just means scale. That means every one of those dashes equal to how many units? In this case, it's 1 unit. So each dash is 1 unit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's what those dashes or that scale actually means. Similarly, y min is negative 10, y max is 10. So once again, negative 10 here and 10 up here. Now, when you draw these things out, you actually don't need to put the numbers on your picture. Where would you actually put your numbers? That's what these brackets are for. Okay, so when I ask you to show your work, you need to do one thing. Write the equation. 2 things. Make a sketch. The third thing is just to tell me what your viewing window is. And your viewing window has 4 things. The first bracket talks about your x values. So your x min and your x max. What are my values, by the way? X min, x max? Negative 10, 10. And then the second set of big brackets are your y values, y min and also y max. So in this case, once again, this is negative 10 and 10. All right? Now, so you look at this graph, you're like, Mr. Lee, this is kind of an ugly graph. I don't see the max. I want to actually see the max. So if I asked you, is this graph displayed appropriately? I'll say no, because I don't actually, or I can't see the maximum. You want to be able to see that top part or the bottom part. Okay? So what I'm going to show you next is how to change your viewing window to make it so that you can actually see the maximum. Now, to change the window, that's number 2 here, to do that you want to go to Window. So I asked you to press Window already, so we got this. Now, which one of these 4 values do you think I need to change if I want to see the maximum of this parabola? First of all, is it x or y? What should I change? Y. Which one should I change? The minimum value of y or the maximum value? Max. Now, what are you going to change this to? You have to kind of guess and test here. I heard 20. Let's try 20. Let's see. Use your cursor. Move down there. Press delete. Change to 20. Graph. That's pretty good. Okay, so what we've done now is I've changed the window coordinates. Now notice the x values are still the same, from negative 10 to 10. But my y coordinates now go from negative 10 all the way up to 20. So it's actually nicer. I've got the whole picture. This is a better picture. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is let's adjust the viewing window so it fits better. And we have. What did we actually do? Well, we kept the x the same, but we changed the actual y max, right? So we changed the y max so that now we can actually see the maximum. Okay? And what I'd like you to do now is sketch a new picture which actually looks much better. So once again, I'm going to ask you to sketch this out. So try to do the same thing. Draw in the x-axis, draw in the y-axis. Notice my x-axis is a little bit lower now because I'm seeing more of the positive y values. And then I'd like you just to sketch a graph. So you sketch it like this, and there you have it, right? There you have it. Okay? So this would be the preferred picture that I would like to see if you were doing your homework and you're trying to show some work when I asked you to graph. Okay? Yes, Darian? I'll show you in a second. Okay? Darian said, what about this Zoom stuff? That's what we'll do next. Okay? But before we do that, any questions on the first page here? No? Okay, turn the page then. Yes, dear. Okay, I'll take a look. Okay, I'll take a look. Hold on. Okay? Now, I want to show you some features called zoom. Okay, zoom in, zoom out. How many of you have or played with those cameras and you zoom in, zoom out? Right? Same kind of idea, same concept. Now, there's a whole bunch of features here, but the only ones that I will actually show you are the ones that we will actually use. Zoom box, zoom in. By the way, this is zoom, not zoom. Zoom out. Zoom standard, I'll show you, and also zoom fit. Those are the only ones I'll show you. The other ones I'll show you later on when we get there. Okay? Now, can we actually just watch me first, and I'll give you a chance to try it afterwards? So let's say here's my graph. Okay, this is great. Let's say I actually wanted to zoom in. I want to see what happens up here at the vertex. Okay, so what can you do? Well, I'll press the zoom button, and I'll choose number 2 for zoom in. And then see where it says X and Y. So it actually has a flashing cursor at the coordinate 0, 5. It's saying, oh, do you want to actually zoom in right here at 0, 5? I'm like, not really. I want to get closer to the max. So I'm going to move my cursor left, right, all like this, and move it up to here. Okay, Okay, and I'm going to say, let's get close to this point, and I'll be like, yeah, that's good. So here's what you're saying to the calculator. I want the calculator to zoom in at this value. Now, how many times bigger does it zoom in? The optical zoom here is 3. Okay, 3 times as big. So once you get the coordinates, just press enter, and it'll zoom in. Oh, there's the max. Okay, so it's zoomed in a little bit more. If you're curious now what the actual window coordinates are, you can then press window and see. Look, remember before it used to be -10, 10? Now it's zoomed into -3 and 1. The max used to be -10 and 20. Now it's zoomed into 12 and 19. So it's zoomed in on that specific area. Okay, I'll give you a chance to look at it in a sec. Just let me finish off this part first. What if I want to go back out, zoom back out? Well, I can choose number 3, which is zoom out. It'll give me a cursor somewhere. I'll just press enter, and guess what? It'll zoom back out for me. Okay. Now, it might not give me the exact same graph as before, but it will zoom out 3 times as well. If you wanted to go back to what they call the standard graph, the standard being the first one we saw today, -10, 10, you would choose zoom number 6, which is zoom standard. And then you get back to the original graph. Okay? Now, before I do the zoom fit part, let me just show you zoom box, and I'll give you a chance to play around with it. Okay, let's do zoom box, but before I do zoom box, let me go back to the nicer looking graph. Okay, I did do zoom out. Okay, let's go back to this one. Let's say I wanted to focus in on this part right here. This part. And this part only. What you can do is use this zoom box feature. Zoom box. Press number 1. Once again, it does give you a cursor, but the key here now is to move your cursor to the top left corner of the box. So let's say I want my box to start right here. Okay, I'll press enter. It locks in the coordinate. And then if I go down and right, you see it creates a box. So what you're saying here is, okay, I'm just going to try and zoom in on this part. Or maybe you want the entire part with a little bit of the x-axis. So you're going to create a box, and you're saying now, I want this to be my new window. Press enter, and it just zooms in on that portion. Okay? Now, how about I give you a few moments right now to play around with this. I'll get Rahul to come around with you as well. I'd like you to practice with the zoom box, zoom in, zoom out, and zoom standard. Okay? Give you a few minutes to play around with the calculator right now.
Standard always goes back to the original.
Zoom standard always goes back to the original, -10, 10, -10, 10. Good.
Oh, so ugly.
Just press enter. Let me answer Darian's question now. Okay. Darian's question was, Mr. Lee, what's this zoom fit thing do? Okay, if you press zoom fit, and you can do this with me if you wish, the calculator tries to figure out what you want to see. I'm going to press zoom fit. Let's see what happens. The calculator thinks that, oh, this might be the picture you want to see.
Why would you want to see that? I'm just kidding.
Usually what the calculator tries to do is find the max. But still, this is probably not a very good picture, right? So I could use zoom fit, but part of me just feels like, well, if you have a good idea of where it is, you don't need zoom fit. If you have no idea where the graph is, then you might want to do zoom fit first, and then look at your window coordinates that the calculator used and say, whoa, okay, here are the coordinates. I think there needs to be more for the x, because right now I don't see much to the right. So then I might just go ahead now and change this. Maybe I'll make this like, I don't know, 15. You know, and then let's press graph now. Let's see what happens. Okay, maybe that's a little bit better graph. So you can use zoom fit to try to give you an idea, Darian, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay? All right. Let's do some fun stuff now. Okay, you learn how to graph. The next thing I want to show you is how to actually find coordinates of the points. Step 4. So let's go back and use the same function. And I'd like us all to have the same window as well. So can we go to window, please? And let's change this to -10 and 10. And then change the y mins to -10 and 20 so that we all have the same picture. Okay, so please do that right now. And then press graph. Okay. Okay. And if you need help, ask Rahul. He'll come help you out. So press graph. This is the graph you have. And now, let's say you wanted to find out the actual coordinates of points on this parabola. There's this button called trace. So another blue button over here that says trace. Press trace, and what happens is it actually automatically gives you an x coordinate and a y coordinate and a little flashing cursor that is on your graph. So what is it telling you right now? It's telling you at x equals to 0, y equals to 14. Now, if you use the left and right arrow keys, you will move along the parabola, and it'll give you different coordinates along the parabola. Okay? Now, what I'd like you to do right now is see if you can actually figure out the maximum value of this parabola by using this trace feature, going up and down, and see if you can figure out what the maximum y value is going to be. Okay, watch how the y values change and figure out which one is the highest. Okay, figure it out yourself. 17.12. It might be a little bit different for each of your calculators, but I'm thinking 17.12 is what I got. Agreed? Okay, so answer the question then, please. Use the trace feature. What's the coordinates of the maximum value? It's 17.123. Okay? 124. Sorry. Okay, now, here's something else I want to show you. Do you remember making a table of values and how bad that was? X, Y, and then you find the X value, find the Y values? The calculator does that for you too. So we don't have to use lists. There's something else. Okay? Now, if you want to display a table of values, here's what you can do. You enter the function in, which we already did. Then I want you to press this thing called second function window. So if you go to a window, on top of it there's this yellow word that says TBLSET, that's table set. So press second function, the yellow button, and window, and you'll get something like this. It's this table setup. So what this is saying to you is, okay, you want me to give you a table, but I need some information. Tell me what's the starting x value. Tell me how you will change the x value. So what's the increment? And then this independent, dependent stuff is this. You can ask the calculator to do everything for you, or you can actually put in particular values. Now let me show you what happens here. Let's keep this at, let's change this. Let's change it to -2. Okay? So that means the first x value is -2. The table feature, the increment, let's keep that as 1. And what I'd like us to do is make both of these things auto. So what I want you to do is highlight the word auto, so move your cursor to the word auto, press enter to toggle back and forth between the two. Now, independent stands for the x value, dependent stands for the y value. So what I'm doing here is I'm telling the calculator what I want to see in my table. Now, to actually see the table, you need to press this button, which is on top of the graph. You see this button that says table, that's in yellow? So second function graph, and this gives you a table of values. So what it says now is when x is 2, that function's y value is 16. When x is -1, 17, 0, 14. And you can scroll up to give you values less than that. You can scroll down to give you values more than that. All the table of values you want are here. You can go up to a billion if you want. You have lots of time, go do it. Don't do it right now. Now, let's say this was not good enough for you because the jump between x values is too big. Well, change it. Go back to second function window, and let's do this together now. Second function window. Let's change this table increment number. Instead of having it at 1, let's change it to 0.5. Okay? And when you do this and go back to your table by pressing second graph, notice what happened to your values for x. Now they jump up by 0.5, so you get a little bit more accurate numbers. Okay? Now, one more thing here before I move on to the next page, which is the big part. Let me go back to second function table set, and let me change one of these now. Instead of auto, let's change it to ask. So can you please do that right now? Go back to the table set and change it to ask. Ask. Okay? It doesn't matter if you change it to -3, you can keep it as -2, whatever you want. Okay? Now what happens with ask is this. If you now go press second graph to get that table feature again. Whoa, what do I mean? What happened there?
It disappeared.
Sorry, it should be ask. Enter, right? Second function table. Hey, what happened there? It was supposed to clear everything.
They did clear everything.
Really?
Mine, there's like nothing. Is that right?
Yeah, it should say nothing there. Let me do this. No, it should be okay. Let me change this to like 0. How about that? Will that make a difference? Oops, not graph. Ah, there you go. Huh?
No, do what I did.
Aren't you supposed to like be able to enter in?
It's -3 and 0.5.
Anyways, you should be able to enter values in. I don't know why my calculator doesn't. Oh. You should be able to get a... Oh. Oh. By the way, listening online, I'm okay. Don't freak out.
Just realize.
So anyways, here's your graph.
How do you clear it?
It should be clear like this.
Yeah.
And then you can plug in values. So let's say I want to find out what x equals to 5. I plug in 5, it gives me an answer. I plug in 2.25, it gives me an answer.
How do you get that?
I plug in 0.1, I get an answer. It should be where when you go to your second window function, just use the word ask. Okay?
Does it ask for both or just ask for one?
Just ask for one. Why would you ask for both? You want the calculator to give you the other one, right?
Oh, right. Right. But mine doesn't do that, Mr. What is the E value?
I'll show you in a sec. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next page. This is the important part right here. This feature is your lifesaver. Let me show you what you can do here in the last 10 minutes. Okay? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, there's another way to find x values or y values. Okay? What I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to go to second and not trace but calc. So second trace to give you this menu. This menu allows you to calculate a whole bunch of different things. Okay, the first neat thing is this value button. Just watch me and I'll give you a chance to try it out. If you choose number 1 for value, what it says to you is, okay, you want to figure out the y value for any value of x. Right. So if I asked you to find the x-intercept, what can you actually use for x? 0. Right. Press enter. You get the y value of 14. Maybe I'll try another one. Try value, let's say 2. Press enter. It gives me -4. So the value feature says the following. You put in x. Calculator will find y.
Isn't that like everything?
Yeah, it's just like the other thing, but I think this one's a little bit easier to use. Okay? What if I asked you to do this? What if I asked you to find on the graph where these x-intercepts are? Now, ladies and gentlemen, how do you find the x-intercepts algebraically? You let y equal to 0. That's what this next feature is. When you go to the second calc feature, it says 0. Watch me first. Okay, I'll let you try. You press 0. This allows you to find the actual x-intercepts. Now, how can you do this? You see how it gives you this thing called left bound? The calculator's like, I'm lazy. I need some help. Okay, I don't want to look through the whole thing. I want you to tell me where I should look for this 0. So let's say I want to find this 0 to the right. What you need to do is move the cursor, first of all, to the left of the 0. I move it to the left of the 0. Just watch me first. I'll give you a chance to play. Press enter. And then it says, okay, you think I should start here and look to the right. I'm like, yeah. How far to the right should you look? Well, that's where this right bound says. So then I want you to move your cursor to the right of the 0. Okay? Doesn't matter how far you move. Doesn't matter. Press enter. And you see how you have these two arrows? So you're saying to the calculator, I think the 0 is between these two values. Go find it. So you have to give it a guess. I'll just press enter. And the calculator thinks. There's the 0. Okay? Now let me show you one more time with the other one, and I'll let you guys practice. Second trace. Choose number 2. Scroll to the left of the 0. So because I want to find the other one, gotta move my cursor all the way to the left. Press enter. Then move to the right. Press enter. Press enter one more time. It finds the value for you. Okay? So the 0 feature is this. It finds the x-intercept for you. All right, I'll give you some time to practice this right now. Give you 2 minutes. Go. Okay, a few more features before we go. minimum. So what do you think minimum tells you? Minimum value, right. So this allows you to find the minimum value, okay, in a given interval, which really does nothing for us for this question, because what do we actually have here? We have a max. So the maximum tells you to find the maximum value in a given interval. So let's try this, okay? And I'll show you quickly number 5. And then I'm thinking I want my calculators back. No one leaves until I get them all back. And then if you could actually try the example underneath, that's great. And maybe next day I will quickly show you a little bit here, but this is actually your homework assignment, so I think maybe you can try this instead for homework. Okay? Now, the maximum. Watch first and then try. Maximum is number 4. So I'll press number 4. And you see how it says left bound again? So what you're doing here, like the zeros, is you have to kind of tell the calculator, where do you want me to look? Well, I want to look around here, right at the top. So the first thing is, make sure you're to the left of the maximum. Okay, so I'm going to go right there. I'm to the left of the maximum. And then now I'm going to move my cursor to the right of the maximum. Okay, make sure you're to the right of the maximum. Press enter. And then the calculator says, do you want me to look in between these two values? Yes, I do. Press enter. Think. Boom, there's my max. X equals to negative 1.25. The y value is this. Now remember, before we traced to try to find the max, wasn't so accurate, was it? This way gives you the most accurate answer for the max. Cool?
The y, right?
It's the y value. So I'll tell you what, let's stop here for today. I will not do the intersect, but this is what I'd like you to try for homework, please. For homework, I want you to do this example. All of it. Okay? What if you don't have a calculator? Get one from online.
How come they should take the graphing calculator and use that as a text?
Okay, you talk to them about that. And I'd like you to try these ones as well. Okay? Let's see if you can do these questions, at least these ones. Notice the questions are the same as what I did before. Find the vertex, x-intercepts, y-intercept, axis symmetry, domain range. It's very similar. Okay, next day when you come back, I'll do more with the graphing calculator and start section 3.2. No one leaves until I get all my calculators back, please.